Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Josh Tech. Welcome to the live stream Christmas special here on HoopSeen on the Fastbreak. We're going to be posting live today on YouTube, on X. So if you're joining us for the first time, this is our pretty faces. Again, I'm Justin. He's Josh. We are in full holiday decor. Josh more so than me. Josh is in full send right now, probably from head to toe. I can only surmise that is the case. Very nice, very nice. Let me see that again. Actually, there's some strong detail on that.
Yeah, it's just a nice little Disney holiday sweater.
Oh, Disney. Okay, I couldn't. Yeah. I thought it was doilies. So I was
well, Disney, doily, a little bit of everything.
I am leaning into my culture on basketball. We got Dunking Santa, which I really like. Great holiday Christmas sweater, sweatshirt. I thought it was a sweater when I ordered online. I got it. It's a sweatshirt. Overpaid. It happens.
So it goes.
It happens. But we're going to talk about a number of things on the show today. We're going to kind of wrap up 2023. We're going to forecast to 2024. We're going to mix in some holiday chatter kind of in between here and there along the way. And hopefully we have some fun. We got a lot of people, looks like, joining in already. So thank you for watching. Thanks for watching this entire year. We've had a lot of shows, a lot of different platforms. We've tried to talk about a lot of different things, whether it was our platform on HoopSeen, whether it was NBA draft, whether it was recruiting, or just about everything else in between. So we try to cover a lot of bases here on the show. We really appreciate you tuning in at some point along the way. We've been doing podcasts actually long before podcasts were a thing at Hoops, and we've been doing podcasts for almost 10 years. And Josh and I have had a lot of fun doing that, not together over the last 10 years, but a lot of shows, probably more shows in the last year than I probably did the 10 years prior to. So nevertheless, it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. We're going to hand out some superlatives for the season. We're going to try to talk about some other stuff. But listen, I already see you're sipping on two different drinks, which is really kind of to be honest with you, kind of a veteran move of a December to double fist it. I mean, it's right. Listen, it's the middle of the day on a Wednesday, so I hope everything's pretty family oriented over there in your cups.
Not an ounce of sugar.
Okay, fair.
Here's a tea, also no sugar.
Okay, but so, festive.
Nothing nefarious going on over here.
Okay. I feel like ginger ale is the holiday like staple. Like you can't go wrong with the ginger ale in the holidays.
I mean, look at this can. That's a holiday can if I've ever seen one.
Festive. I do like the new Sprite cranberry. It's moving up pretty quickly on our list.
I need to try that still. I haven't gotten around to it, but it's kind of hard to find in stores, I feel like.
At the Tech Family Christmas, are you in charge of any hors d'oeuvres that you have to bring to the table?
I don't know that I'm in charge of any hors d'oeuvres. I do spend a lot of time helping in the kitchen. I'm more of like I take control over the Christmas cookie kind of section. That's where I'm like, all right, you guys get out of the way. I'm doing this.
More elfish than you are Santa.
Yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, I'm definitely an elf all the way through.
Oh, excuse me, sneeze button. We don't have that. We're not high tech like some of these other podcasts, so forgive me. I am definitely. We have a family tradition of making a brisket. I grew up in Dallas. And so we always had a huge Texas brisket. So that seems to kind of always be the family tradition in my house. So I'll be spending time over the smoker going a long way. Anyways, people didn't come here for holiday food talk, although maybe they did. I don't know.
Debatable.
Maybe next year that's something that we want to do. But this year we're going to kind of get into some stuff. We're going to talk about the best gift givers, the best passers, if you will. And I think we can start there. We're going to talk about the player that maybe was the best present to a college program, which I really like. I think you've got a lot more probably candidates than me. And then we're going to talk about 2024 also. I feel like there's a little bit of a shift as to who the cool kid is at the table in the cafeteria now in college basketball. We're going to talk about that. We're going to forecast, maybe figure out who's this year's FAU and is FAU this year's FAU. We're going to talk about that. Who's getting a lump of coal? Who's the hottest Christmas item? All kinds of stuff. I think we're gonna do some year-end wrap stuff as well, kind of talking about our HoopSeen platform. So if you see me looking down, we got a lot of show notes. We have no in-cap time on this, so we're just probably broadcasting until we run out of ginger ale and tea and water and all the things that we have. So one more time, I just gotta show it off. It's a great Christmas sweater for this.
The reindeer shouldn't have jumped.
Shouldn't have jumped, man. Got to make a business decision sometime. Yeah. So. All right, Josh. So if we're handing out gifts this year, when I thought about this, I was like, okay, well, who's the best gift giver? Who's the best passer that you saw over this past season? If somebody that would fall in that category has got their big old, bag over their shoulders that's getting ready to pass out some gifts, who is on your short list from 2023 of the best gift givers there was in basketball that you came across?
I always have to start this off with Rob Wright from Montverde now, I guess. Going to Baylor. He is one of my favorite point guards in the entire class. And there are a lot of great point guards that we have ranked above him, but I consider them predominantly scorers. With Rob, I kind of consider him more of a distributor above all else first. I mean, while he can score, he can do a little bit of everything. I really look at him as more of a passer than anything else. Elliot Cadeau would have been my number one, but then he's off to North Carolina.
Sure.
So I want to kind of stick it to, the still the people within the prep ranks still. So Rob Wright's my number one, just because he's the guy that's doing the most passing, I think.
I like that one. He was also on my list. I saw him a lot. I've seen him a lot already. I've seen him on Bird Team quite a bit, whether it was in person or on film. I don't think I disagree with you there at all. I think he's tremendous. And I think next year we'll be talking about him way more. It's funny, like on that Montverde team, like there's so many good dudes on that team that the focus obviously naturally will go to Cooper Flagg or even Derek Queen for that matter, Liam McNeely. But Rob Wright consistently day in and day out knows how to run that team and knows how to glue it all together. Without a doubt, an elite gift giver. I like that one a lot. That one makes a lot of sense. Holidays are about the families, at least in my world. And I would imagine that the Boozer family also is a really good one. As much as we talk about Cameron, you really like Caden Boozer is he an elite gift giver?
Yeah, I think he's one of the best. I mean, he might be the best point guard in the 2025 class, a class that's getting a lot of hype for the talent at the top. And I think you have to discuss Caden as being within that upper echelon, top 10, top 15 players in the class. And he is the best point guard in the class. He's a great gift giver. And I think Cameron is also a fantastic gift giver, fantastic passer as well. I don't know if there's a better outlet passer in high school basketball right now than Cameron Boozer. So while Caden's the point guard, he gets, most of the credit in passing. You got to give Cam some too.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually had a deep cut throwback, and Kevin Love is the best passer that I've ever seen into that end, to the best outlets. I mean, and I think I always get really nostalgic this time of year because I've been to darn near every Christmas tournament there ever was in this country, with the exception of the one in Hawaii, which I just saw Barack Obama was at.
Have you not prioritized that?
Okay, true story. I tried to go to that for years when I was at Rivals Yahoo. Like I really did. I was like, we got to go. It's something that would be really great for our covers. And again, at the time I was at Rivals Yahoo, it wasn't like it is now where I feel like it would have been easy to pass that one off. I'd have to still fight for it.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that one. I think they saw through me that I wanted a trip to Hawaii to go out there to cover basketball. But anyways, nevertheless, I bring that up because the Les Schwab Invitational in Portland is one of my favorite ones. They take all these teams from the Pacific Northwest. They bring in 3 Nike teams. But Kevin Love, when he was a freshman in high school, I was able to write some of the first stories of him as a prep star. Really one of the best, probably top 10 prep stars I ever saw and I've seen in my career. And it was actually, I would believe it or not, a much better outlet passer in high school than probably I've ever seen in college and pros, believe it or not. He was unbelievable in that category, could absolutely throw a bomb from end to end. I like the Boozer twins. I like where you went off of that. Do you got any couple off the beaten path on your list?
Yeah, this one's just recency bias, but I think Mekhi Ragland, who plays at Berkmar High School and here in Georgia, and he plays with Team Huncho, or at least played with Team Huncho this past travel season. I'm assuming he's going to this next travel season as well. A big 6'10" guy. Doesn't look like, he looks more of like a bruiser, like I've said a million times, but he's really skilled out of the mid to high post, can really pass the ball, really makes good decisions while passing too. Like he doesn't just kind of fling the ball to someone that's out on the wing. He kind of waits for the right opportunity to kind of allow them to, assess their defender and kind of make a move from there. He kind of, he's more deliberate with his passing rather than just like, oh, I'm in the middle, I'm just going to kick it out. Like he has intention with doing so from the mid to high post. So I think he's a guy off the beaten path. People down here in Georgia know all about him, but people nationally probably don't yet. Another guy that we've seen, this one's just based on how many times we saw him this travel season, Sebastian Akins with 1 of 1 Academy, 1 of 1 Elite over the travel season. Really good passer. He had a ton of athletes on his travel team, and he was the guy that kind of stirred the drink and kind of got everybody, the ball where they needed the ball to be sent to, essentially.
He stirred the ginger ale, maybe?
Yes.
Stirred the ginger ale? Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Another guy I want to shout out, another Georgia guy, so maybe I'm just being a homer here, but Darion Reed, I mean, now he's not Georgia, but he's a historical Georgia guy. Really high-level passer. He gets a lot of credit for pretty much everything else that he does on the floor, but if you've seen him enough, you've seen him make some really great passes. I think that's going to be one of the things that separates him, in this top end of this 2024 class.
Okay, so you mentioned Darion. Where's he going to go to college? I know he's announcing his decision on the 22nd, which is what? Is that Friday? Saturday?
Yeah, I honestly have no.
Friday. It's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. Where do you think he's going?
It's between Alabama, Georgia, and Florida State, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my gut just has to go Georgia because he is an East Georgia guy and not like too terribly far from Athens. I feel like that's just the safe bet, but he also does make a ton of sense for Alabama and Florida State. Like it's just like the way they've historically played under their current coaches. So none of the options would surprise me, but I'm going to lean Georgia just because of the local factor.
Not mad at that. I got no intel on it whatsoever. It's hard to argue. I would probably go 33. I mean, I feel like his recruitment's been one of the more not puzzling in a negative way, but more like, where is he going to go? I have no idea where he's going to go. I think he makes a great fit at any of those places. And really, when you think about it, all of them make a ton of sense for the type of player they've been able to develop over the years. Selfishly, I think Florida State makes the most sense, like just schematically, because of the players that Leonard Hamilton has had. But Ace Newell at Florida State, of course, Alabama, and their success at that position, it's hard to look past what they've been able to do. Obviously, he's got Aiden Sherrill, his high school teammate now, a prolific prep, also on board there. So it could be interesting to see where that one turns out.
Yeah, if I had to favor, I would favor Georgia and Alabama over Florida State. But Florida State would not surprise me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by them. Again, Friday, December 22nd, Darion Reed's making his decision. Really excited for him, number one. It's been fun to watch his journey from his days at Grovetown all the way out there to Napa, California at Prolific Prep. We're talking about passers, the best gift givers. I'm thinking about our 2023 season on the HoopSeen Association platform. Enrico Borio, for me, was the guy that kind of stood out. I'm going back and on our Twitter account, our X account, I'm reposting all of our all HSA guys here from now to the end of the year. And I was going back and reading this stuff about him. To me, the part that I loved about him the most, he's going to Jacksonville down at North Broward Prep, play for Florida Pro, is he's a great passer, an elite passer, ties everybody together. Yeah. And I thought he was the best passer that I think I saw in the 17U division as far as effectiveness and efficiency.
I think his like positional passing is what separates him, because he's big forward, point forward in a way. So I think that kind of can be a separator because of his size and what he can do. Like he kind of throws teams off with how well he passes the ball and his skill and all that stuff. Yeah, for sure. All right, that's our best gift givers. If you've got an idea for that, maybe like the best passer, the best person that hands out the best gifts, leave us a comment below. Whether you're here watching us live right now on X, which we appreciate you doing so, or you're watching live on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe and share this link with people. We're going live however long we want. There's no end cap to this. We're going to talk as much as we want until we run out of a voice, until y'all can't get enough of this swaggy shirt or Josh's Christmas swag with, I thought they were doilies. They're not. They're Mickey Mouses on his shirt there. Christmas plans, you staying there locally in Atlanta? Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, you are.
I know, it's surprising, right? I travel everywhere throughout the rest of the year, so I figure I'll stay home for a couple days.
We here in Arizona, it's going to be, I think, mid 70s. It's very typical, so it's hard to leave that, honestly. This year, I'm doing a lot of film watching for the holidays. I'm not going to any holiday tournaments. Got a pretty significant knee injury. You don't even know this, Josh. I took a bad step. I was up in Salt Lake at a Suns Jazz game, and I missed a step in the arena, and I think I really jacked up my leg, and it hurts so much that I'm waiting to go to the doctor in the new year. I think I probably tore my ACL, honestly. It's been a long time, and I'm just so stubborn to go. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not getting out, because I'm playing hurt, which is, if you know me, not surprising at all. All right. Want to keep it moving. We're thinking about this class, and I want to think about who was maybe the best gift that was given to a program per se over the last year at the collegiate level that's maybe changed the dynamic of their program, that's given a program like a boost, a shot in the arm, that when the school, the fan base unwrapped it, so to speak. They're really happy, and it's really paid dividends. Does that question make sense? Number one, and number two, does anybody come to mind?
Oh hell yeah, man! I've got a whole Rolodex of answers for this one. Let's start at the top. I think Reed Sheppard and all of the Kentucky freshmen are the best gifts to that program. Kentucky had been kind of okay per their standards, not per the grand scheme of college basketball, but per Kentucky's blue blood elite of the elite standards. They had taken the dip in the most, the last 5 years, say, let's call it that. But now they look like one of the best they're certainly one of the best offenses and one of the best teams in the entire country. I think Reed Sheppard has a lot to do with that. I think DJ Wagner has a lot to do with that. Aaron Bradshaw has a lot to do with that. Rob Dillingham. So all these Kentucky freshmen are living up to their billing of, they were the number one rated class coming in. And then a lot of people were saying that, there's a weak class, so yada, yada, yada. But Kentucky is living up to that number one class kind of billing. They look really great this year.
Do you think Reed Sheppard is his production this year surprising to you?
Yes and no. I would say no because I knew he was going to be a good player. He's just smart. He just does everything well. But yes, to the degree that he is producing, right? I thought that he would be like a good guy to come off the bench and give them a few minutes here or a few minutes there, and he would really take a step forward next year. But his production right off the bat is a little surprising just because of how good he's been. Not that he is good, it's how good he's been.
Yeah. I think Robert Dillingham's kind of been who I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, he's electric.
It's so funny, man. Like even when he was coming out of high school, I compared him to Ryan Harrow, who played at Kentucky, played at a lot of schools. And I remember Calipari's, he wasn't afraid to, I don't know if criticize is the right word, but he always would single out Harrow for his style play. Dillingham to me is the same exact type of player. And it's interesting to see Calipari as basketball's changed and as more players Harrow was one of the first guys to really kind of move to a different school every year back then. That it's interesting to see the dynamic change with Calipari and how he describes Dillingham, thinking about how he used to describe Harrow. So it's kind of interesting to see that one play out. But yeah, that Kentucky class certainly, I don't want to say they've kind of been who I thought they were going to be, right? Like they've kind of stayed on brand.
Yeah, I thought maybe that they would take a little bit to get to this point, right? Like they would be getting to this point in like late January as opposed to like right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's kind of what we would have expected from them.
Well, we know Calipari is always going to have great freshmen on his roster. Let's pivot a little bit to the best transfer last year, and that was Hunter Dickinson going from Michigan down to Kansas. And we know big men thrive there in Lawrence, Kansas. We know they thrive for Bill Self. And I kind of think it's worked out just fine.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas is one of the 5 best teams in the country. One of the few teams that you can say is a legit national title contender. And Hunter Dickinson is the main reason behind that. I mean, what did he had like 20 and 20 to open the season or something like that. Yeah. And he's had multiple 20 rebound games already. Like he's just been dominant so far. And that's not surprising to see a big man thrive under Bill Self.
The part that I love about Hunter Dickinson is he is not afraid to talk shit and he's not afraid to back it up.
Yeah.
And he's unafraid of being who he is, which I'm a big proponent of. I'm like, always be who you're going to be. I don't particularly like PC. I love that he stayed true to like who he is and not afraid to throw it back to people.
Yeah. I like that so last year he was doing that, but he was doing that to an overt degree, I would say, like to a degree that it wasn't necessarily like backing it up. He was just talking a bunch of shit just to talk shit. But now he is, turned that into like, he's moved from that being a show to that being like just like good trash talk basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like he's backing it up now. It's a little bit less like over the top. It's just more appropriate, I think.
Fair. Well, I think that happens with age, right? Like
yeah, for sure.
You learn how to fine tune your
I think Kansas probably helps with that too a little. I can't imagine that Bill Self is like allowing him to wear like ski masks into gyms and stuff like that, like he did last year, like looking over the top,
Well, Bill Self also, to his credit, is a pretty good shit talker as well. So
yeah, for sure.
You may be learning from a really good one. All right. So keeping up with this notion of transfers, is there another guy that you feel like has maybe impacted his current team this season in college basketball to the level that we've seen Hunter Dickinson do?
Yeah, I've got three more transfers to talk about here. I think
Right.
Cam Spencer at UConn has been that. Yeah. He's been awesome. Like he is. You want to talk about a guy who's not afraid to talk shit? It's Cam Spencer. I was in the Garden for their game against UConn, or for their game against North Carolina, and he was giving it to Armando Bacot the entire game. And Cam Spencer had like 20-something points in that game. Great shot maker, just a really tough presence on the court. He kind of exudes what Danny Hurley wants out of players. He's skilled. He can hit shots, and he's also just has no back down in his game. Like he's going to go up against anybody. He's going to talk his game. He's going to show his game. He's going to do everything. I think Cam Spencer is a guy for UConn that's really elevated the program to being a potential repeat candidate.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about Connecticut later on the show. I think there's some longevity there that I really like about the Huskies and what they're doing. All right, you said you had a long list of transfers. Who else do you got?
Yeah, I got two more that I want to talk about right now. Harrison Ingram at North Carolina. Yeah. He is maybe their number one offensive weapon right now. Maybe RJ Davis is, but he's either one or two on their offensive depth chart, and he has been fantastic for North Carolina. Gives them a bigger wing, shot maker, toughness, scorer kind of guy that can do a little bit of everything. I think when he is locked in, he is one of the best players in the country right now, and he's just been great for North Carolina. Has really given that program a boost. Another guy I want to talk about is David Jones, who went to Memphis from St. John's. Memphis is a top 25 program right now, and David Jones is the best player on the team currently. So a lot of their success has got to do with him. And then Javon Quinterly is another guy that transferred to Memphis that's also given the program a bit of a boost.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of transfer, but it's not transfer. It's the people who didn't transfer, and that's everybody at FAU. FAU would not be where they are right now had all these players transferred or had one or two of these players transferred. They maintained everybody. They re-recruited their team and kind of staved off some bigger programs, and now they're operating as a top 15-ish team in the country.
I can't disagree with you at all. Like that was my number one thing. I think FAU is such a great. I don't want to say a great story because I feel like it's a little pat on the head, and I don't want that to be.
I think it is a great story.
You're right. They've secured the roster. Okay. They've made sure that nobody left, but then they also got better along the way.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at Elijah Martin, I think you look at John L. Davis, I think when you look at Big Vlad Golden, what they've done, they've changed that program. Like how many programs can you look at and point at and say they've changed the dynamic of that program? Like we've always talked a lot about Rutgers and Ace Bailey and now Dylan Harper. Are they going to change that program? But like FAU, like Gonzaga had to have a change. And I always think about like Dan Dickow and Casey Calvary and like some of these guys when Gonzaga was making this shift, right? And like even like St. Mary's, Big Omar in the middle back in the day, right? Like, and sorry, I can't remember his last name, but like there's got to be a player that makes a seismic shift. Did I just make up a word? I think I did a little bit with their program. And I think when you look at FAU, I agree. I think those are the most impactful gifts that we've seen in a program. Sure, some of those guys have transferred in, but they also recruited really well. Like Elijah Davis was like such an important guy. John L. Davis. I'm sorry, Elijah Martin. Out of Mississippi, a guy that Garrett Tucker had talked about before, saw him out of Mississippi. And I know, to me, like those are the guys that you've got to be able to recruit, you've got to be able to develop, and you've got to be able to keep them within your program to have the success and the shift in a program. Like those, to me, are the guys that change everything. I think even about like I know he's down in South Florida now with Amir, but Chris Youngblood and Brandon Stroud and those guys, Terrell Burden. Now Terrell's still at Kennesaw State, but like what they did at Kennesaw changed the dynamic of a program. And to me, like those are the best guys. We know Connecticut's going to get great players. We know Duke's going to get great players. Kentucky, etc. But to me, like those are the guys that help change the dynamic of a program, not just in the moment, but long term as well.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think that considering them a great story is a pat on the head, because there is all these high level programs, all these blue blood ish programs are losing players that could have helped their teams currently. You look at Gonzaga right now. One thing they need is another guard, and they had Hunter Salas on the roster, but he transferred to Wake Forest. If they could have just kept Hunter Salas, I'm not saying he would have changed them and made them a top 10 team, but he would have certainly helped them and given Ryan Nembhard and given he would have given them the guy they need right now. You know what I'm saying? A 15-minute a game kind of guy. So FAU bringing everybody back isn't just like a nice mid-major story. I think is a nice story for across college basketball because nobody brings everybody back these days besides Mark.
I think that's a good pivot point in our conversation here. And one of the questions we have is who will be the best NIL program in 2024? Like really keeping the presence under the tree consistently and making sure that the tree is full. Which, by the way, my wife and I, we have a 10-month-old son. 11 months old, and we are pivoting. We don't have a Christmas tree in our living room because he's crawling now and he's putting everything in his mouth and just destroying it. So now in my office, off camera, is my Christmas tree. So it's weird here at the Young headquarters HQ is that we don't have a Christmas tree in our front yard, or our front room, which makes it feel a little different this year.
Maybe we put it in the front yard.
We thought about it. We actually did think about it. We did.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, but tree, it's just Arizona's different, man. If it's not a cactus or a palm tree, it's kind of weird.
They don't do Christmas cacti there.
I mean, I'm not trying to put lights on that thing, bro. No chance. I like keeping these things not picked up. But anyways, my answer to my question of who's going to be the best NIL team is Arizona. I think they've done a great job of understanding how to build it. I think this year in 2024, we're going to see a really big shift in the way things are done. Whether it's within the actual laws of the United States and like, is there almost like a collective bargaining agreement put forth by the players? Something is going to happen because there's got to be like a level playing field. I think we're seeing that now in the midst of the early signing period for football. Like there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Bidding wars are now no longer in the back rooms, but on the front, focus on the open stage and all the bright lights are on it. But I think Arizona's done a really good job behind the scenes of building up their own collective or whatever you want to call it, like the people that are involved with all that and really doing a good job of putting that all together. And we've seen that now too with Arizona. And I think Arizona's doing, pretty dang good things with what they've got, both just, domestically and internationally. I really like what they're doing moving forward. NIL if you don't already know that that's part of the lexicon and the day-to-day operation of college basketball, you're just not paying attention to what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even what we're doing, but like just in general. Like
but you're just not paying attention to the landscape of the sport.
It's present. Like I just saw that Ja'Kai Howard had signed with Clutch for NIL, and everywhere that I've gone this year, I've seen Clutch more than I've seen college coaches.
Yeah, they're always in the building. So yeah, you're right.
Everywhere. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Did you have a team that was kind of in that category for you?
I'll just go ahead and say most of the SEC because that league is just like
fair.
All of those states within that league are all about college. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some of these you go out to some of these other places and it's like, oh, I'm half pro, half college fan or whatever. Like you go to Alabama, nobody cares about pro sports there. It's all about Auburn and Alabama. You know what I'm saying? You go, go to Kentucky, it's all UK. You go to some of these other places, it's all whatever. So I think the SEC is the league, and under that umbrella, so most of those teams really prioritize college sports and college athletics. Thus, they have really big collectives for NIL, to use the term you used. Yeah, they have really big collectives to kind of back their teams and make sure that their league is the best league.
Fair, totally fair. A lot of times there has to be a balance to things as much as the NIL has helped and enriched programs. There's also programs that get a lump of coal this holiday season. And Josh, I don't mean to prod the bear. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to keep it happy. I'm trying to keep it positive. I'm trying to keep you still drinking ginger ale and not the hard stuff. But I feel like the Louisville Cardinals, your team, has to be the only team that gets a real lump of coal this year because what the hell's going on in your hometown?
Yeah, I think the lump of coal gets delivered to Kenny Payne because, I mean, it's hard to call what he's done over 2 years at Louisville, or, a year and a half at Louisville, anything other than malpractice. Because if you look at it, Jeff Brom, the football coach, in one season from September to now, has as many wins as Kenny Payne does in a year and a half of basketball. And for those who don't know, they only play football once a week. And Kenny Payne in basketball, they play like 3 times a week. So there's that. And also like just take wins and losses aside of it. Like we covered recruiting so much. When do you ever hear about like a kid going to visit Louisville other than Carter Knox the other day when there was rumors that Kenny Payne was getting fired before the new year. You know what I'm saying? That almost seemed like it was like a hey man, like I need you to come on campus to kind of do me a favor. In October, September during visit season, did we ever talk about Louisville having any kind of kid on there? No. Like they just haven't recruited very well. It doesn't seem like they've put very much effort into recruiting. He always kind of has these silly press conference moments that are they're honestly are hilarious, but they are, for the program, they turn you into a laughing stock a bit like that. You can't tell me that some of the players don't see that and are like face palming. It's kind of like how Jim Halpert and Michael Scott operate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's that same vibe. And then it's just kind of like the whole situation with Karan Davis was just once again malpractice. Like it just seems like he's not trying, or I don't know what's going on there. Like I'm not trying to like disparage him or anything like that, but it's just like all of these things add up and you're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. It is a soap opera of no comparison this year in college hoops, which I feel like some years we have multiple programs that kind of fall in that category.
Yeah, for sure.
But I did feel like last night Notre Dame got real interesting, right? Like you lose by 20 points at home to the Citadel, and then Michael Shrewsbury goes up there and basically says, listen, if you don't want to do this, I'll help you get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Appreciated. But
with that one, it's like I can give you a little bit of wiggle room like for the first year, right? With Michael Shrewsbury, with Ed Cooley at Georgetown. Like Notre Dame was not exactly like a world beater last year, and Georgetown certainly wasn't. So those guys have to really rebuild programs. Kenny Payne inherited like a pretty, a rough situation, but it wasn't like the worst. And he won 4 games, which is, once again, first year I can I'll do my best to work with you on winning 4 games, but like now you're in your second year and it doesn't look like anything's really improved. And like you have not shown any kind of improvements as a coach or a program leader or anything like that. So now that's why you get the lump of coal. Now this time next year, if Ed Cooley and Michael Shrewsbury or whoever are still kind of fumbling the bag and kind of middling around, then you guys get the lump of coal.
Yeah. I thought about this for a long time. I was trying to figure out like who I would give my lump of coal to, and I don't have a name per se or even a program. I think archaic, the way things have always been done, coach and program, are going to be in for a rude awakening in 2024 if they maintain that theory, because we've seen such a cataclysmic pivot in college sports, and the players, just almost like the NBA, kind of ruled around. And if you, and I'm not trying to put Tom Izzo in that category, but the old school category is changing in such a way that it just doesn't work that well anymore. And I still believe in tough coaching. If I was a parent of a player that was in college, I'd want that for my child. I really would. I would hope my child would want that. I think great players want to be coached really, really. I talk to my brother about this all the time at the pro level, and he's like, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant want to be coached hard. Chris Paul want to be coached hard. Joel Embiid, all these great players that he's been able to coach, want to be coached hard. And I don't think great players don't. I think they still want that. It just has to be in a different type of way. That I am curious to see, is your program fast-paced? Is your program doing everything they can to – and I hate to do it because, like, to me, it's all about the game. Like, I don't really care about marketing. I don't really care about NIL because I care about what happens between those 94 feet.
Yeah,
I want to know.
I'm right there with you.
But I'm not dumb to think like that stuff matters now for kids and college sports. And to your point, like we're seeing so many 5-star guys. I look at the University of Georgia football. They went back-to-back national champions, and their whole roster's leaving because they were like 3 points away from not. I mean, it blows my mind. It's like, man, you guys have to stay the course a little bit. But
yeah,
I think that way of thinking is to me the biggest lump of coal this year, that you've got to be able to change as we continue to shift our behavior and player behavior in college sports. Otherwise, you're going to be dead and gone, and you're going to be the way of the rotary phone that was on the wall. Like it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Tom Izzo was a candidate for me as well. He's just amassed such a resume that I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally agree. And if I had a child that was good enough to play high level basketball, Tom Izzo is on my top 3 of where I'd want my kid to go play. True story.
I do think one of the things about Michigan State that kind of I could have, I don't want like make it sound like I'm like Nostradamus or anything like that, but I could have forecasted a little bit of it because a lot of people were kind of touting them for having this recruiting class coming in and just being guys that watched a lot of these guys a lot. I felt like very strongly that none of these guys were going to be immediate impact players. Like, Xavier Booker was rated highly, but not rated highly because of what he's going to do in college as an immediate impact. I think he's more rated as like if he hits, he's going to be he has NBA potential, right? Not like he's going to come in and dominate the game right away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
we kind of saw some of his ups and downs. We've seen a lot of these guys' ups and downs that play for Michigan or they're on the freshman team at Michigan State. And I think a lot of those guys can be great sophomores, great juniors, great guys that develop under Michigan State. So I think if they stick with it, this will end up being a great class. But it was a class that was going to take time, not a class like Kentucky's that's going to come in and really impact the game right away.
I think incoming freshmen may also get a lump of coal because I think it's going to be way harder for incoming true high school freshmen or high school seniors to be in a college freshman. It's way harder than you think that it is to get out there on the floor and compete and to be good. I think this class has a real small handful of guys that are going to come in. And I do think you'll see that in our reflection in our rankings coming up. Like a guy like Boogie Fland, I think comes in, plays right away, but there's some growing pains. Or heck, even Cooper Flagg, I think, has some growing pains.
Yeah.
Out of the gate because of I think high school basketball, they play so much now and they play against each other all the time that it gets a little bit easier at this level. Like you don't really level up as far as strategy and even, and I don't want to say coaching. I'm not trying to talk down to guys that are at the college and pro level. But
I think you're right. It feels like a little bit too easy. Like when you watch Cooper Flagg play over the summer, the game looked too easy for him. Like it was fun to watch because like he was doing ridiculous things and he's a great player and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was like, all right, like Maine United's playing on court 10. Like I don't really need to go watch that because I know Cooper Flagg's going to put up a triple double. Right. They're going to win or whatever. Like I know I already can forecast what's going to happen, right?
Sure.
Like a learning experience or anything like that. And like after a while, it gets kind of repetitive to write. Like Cooper Flagg had a triple double. All right, this next EYBL session, Cooper Flagg had another triple.
Sure.
Nobody really wants to read that. No, I don't really want to talk about that over and over again. So it's kind of I get what you're saying.
Okay, well let's move on then. I think to me this is the best question that we had in our show notes. And it was, who is going to be this year's hottest Christmas item? Like, who will be the coolest brand that your kids want for Christmas? And I think we're seeing this pivot a little bit outside of the Blue Bloods. We're seeing Michigan State, even like UCLA. Some of these programs kind of struggle. Kansas is still fine. Kentucky's been ebbs and flows. Duke isn't necessarily hitting the mark that I think a lot of people thought they were going to be this year. I feel like we're seeing an opening or a little bit of a gap now, whether it's conference realignment, whether it's the impact that college freshmen have is not as high as it maybe like the Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant era was when they were freshmen in college, Derrick Rose. Like we're seeing now like an opportunity for maybe like a new cool kid or a new cool brand under the tree. Is there a school that maybe kind of fills that space in your mind for 2024, maybe even beyond that as well?
Yeah, Connecticut is the brand right now. There is no cooler brand. There is no like hotter brand. And that's just national championship aside. Had they only made the Final Four last year and lost to whoever in the Final Four and national championship, I would still say something like this because they just have so much momentum. They're just beating the brakes off of everybody. Like I know they lost by 4 at Kansas, but hell, most teams are going to lose at Kansas, right? But other than that, they've been beating everybody by a million. It feels like I said, I saw them in Madison Square Garden just kind of put North Carolina away pretty easily. North Carolina made a couple runs here and there, but Connecticut really controlled that game, and their fan base was rabid in that game. So I think Connecticut right now is the brand in college basketball.
It'd be hard to disagree with you there. I think Purdue's got a chance at maybe not like the coolest.
So here I've got some comparisons. Purdue is the media's brand, right? Like I love Purdue.
Okay.
You love Purdue. The people at Field 68, people whatever, they love Purdue. But for like the average fan, they're kind of like the guilty pleasure. They're almost like like a Taylor Swift record or something like that. Like some people will like,
yeah.
I don't love this, but then secretly behind your back, they're listening to the songs. You know what I'm saying? Outwardly, they're going to try and be too cool for it, being like, "Oh, I don't like this," but then they're like, "All right." Admittedly, they're pretty good.
I got it. And this analogy may only work for me, so just roll with me. Which band do I absolutely love? Well, you may not know.
A lot. I was gonna say a lot.
The War on Drugs.
Okay. Yeah. I knew that. Yeah.
I love the War on Drugs. It's my band. It is my go-to. And every time I go to one of their shows, I look around the crowd, and it is a band. It is a crowd full of musicians. That band is the band that musicians listen to.
Your favorite band's favorite band.
My favorite band's favorite band, right? Wilco, War on Drugs, all that category. Now, my neighbor next door may like, I don't know. I couldn't even come up with a good modern band name, but like, to me, like, that's who Purdue is. Purdue is your band's favorite band. It's your team's favorite team. And I still think Kansas maybe falls in that category too. But I do think Connecticut, Gonzaga, I feel like was kind of moving in that space where they were the cool brand. Everybody was all about them. And I do wonder now.
They had a lot of their doubters too, though. I think them and Purdue are kind of similar to me, where it was like the media really likes Gonzaga, but a lot of the forward, the general college basketball fan base is going to say, well, what are they going to do in March? That's what Purdue's going to get all season long. They're not going to do anything in March. When it comes to March, they're going to lose. And same thing happened to Gonzaga when they were riding their hottest streaks. So that's why I kind of say they're like that guilty pleasure where nobody wants to admit that they actually like watching Purdue, but they actually do like watching Purdue.
Yeah. Yeah. We're seeing it in recruiting too, right? Like there's been such a pivot where for years it was Duke and Kentucky. Between those two guys over the last 10 years, I think I counted up 31 combined 5-star guys that have gone to those schools. But you look at those schools and how many of those teams have claimed national championships in the last 10 years? Not a lot. Yeah. So now we're seeing Rutgers get guys. We're seeing Georgia get number one players. We're seeing Oklahoma State. We're seeing, oh man, who else was the number one guy? USC, right? Like schools that are really good schools, but maybe not the blue bloods.
They're not traditional basketball blue bloods. Right. I mean, those are all the aforementioned were football schools except for Rutgers. But
so it brings me to this thought, and I'm glad you put this on your show notes too, as we look at like this crossroads of conference realignment. We know that the Big 12 is going to be a major basketball conference. It already is, but it's going to really level up now. But I think you put it in your crosshairs, and you brought up a good one, Houston. Explain why maybe Houston could fall into this category too, because for years they're like Gonzaga. Well, they're maybe a mid-major. They're in a mid-major conference, which if you've ever watched any of Kelvin Sampson's teams and the players they have coming out of their program, lottery picks and whatnot, and Final Fours, they're not a mid-major program.
Well, to go off your point, the thing that makes Houston and Gonzaga different is that Houston made the move, or not that Gonzaga wasn't trying to make the move, but Houston is actually moving to the Big 12, so they're going to get a chance to
prove,
like, hey,
they are.
I know that's what I'm saying, but like they haven't played a Big 12 game yet. But like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, now you're going to get a chance to like prove it, and I think they will prove it. But they are like, Houston is something that they're like the sleeper present, right? Like they're not like, it's like that really great pair of socks that you get that's like you wear throughout the year, and you're like, damn, that actually was a really great present. But if you told someone, hey, my favorite present was a pair of socks, they'd be like, what the hell? Or it's like a really nice like cologne or something like that. Like it may not be like the new phone, the new computer, the new car, or whatever, but it's like, damn, that present actually was really good. And that's because they're not like right now they haven't played the strongest schedule, but they're undefeated, right? So like you can't do anything but respect what they've done. That's just kind of speaks to how they've operated within the last several years. Like, I don't think it's a very flashy program, but it's just one that's consistently winning, consistently just is a threat to be, a Final Four contender, right? So I think that's why they're the consistent sleeper.
Yeah, the conference realignment there, it makes their resume better. It makes more eyes pay attention to them. I'm going to bring it up here a little bit, particularly about the Big 12, is, they get great ESPN stuff. You've got great high-level games. Wednesday night you're going to turn it on, especially once football ends. Like a lot of eyeballs turn to it. Houston's a fun brand of basketball to watch. I really like that one a lot. I think also, too, with the shift of the end of the Pac-12, which, by the way, in the data research I was doing over the last 10 years, this is why I hate that the Pac-12 and I don't. Did you see Chip Kelly's remarks about conference realignment and about how our football decisions shouldn't impact all the other sports. And if you
No,
haven't,
I didn't see that.
it's really good to go back and watch it, because he's like, this, like, why are all these other sports being impacted by football? Like breaking up their rivalries. And I think Pac-12 basketball, people can say what they want about it. To me, they have so many pros, they have so many great programs.
They always have like 4 really great teams.
Okay, yes, but they also recruit really well. Only 3 programs in the last 10 years haven't landed a 5-star: Oregon State, Washington State, and what was the other one? Washington State, Oregon State. Oh man, I just had it written down. Hold on. I got it. I'm gonna have it.
Landed a 5-star
in Utah. And like, those are the only 3 programs that haven't landed a 5-star player in the last 10 years. Okay, like Washington for years always had studs. I went back, I looked it up. Cal had one, Jaylen Brown.
Yeah,
Stanford had him.
Oh, is just the Pac-12?
Yeah, just the Pac-12 in the last 10 years.
I was gonna say, I can't imagine Northwestern landed a 5-star. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah. Just the Pac-12. But my point in that is now all those schools are going elsewhere. Ironically, 2 of those schools are staying put, and I don't know what's going to happen with Oregon State and Washington State. But like, all this talent now is going somewhere else, right, into a different league, which then now changes this whole atmosphere of what college basketball is all about. Now you're taking, these 9 teams, or these 10 teams rather, and you're putting them in all of these other places, which now changes these little tiny decimal points of where people's eyeballs go and different matchups. And like we talked about before, potential Arizona-Kansas matchup. Unbelievable for college basketball. Houston playing Kansas and Houston playing Arizona, and like, all these things are so good. Now we're going to see, UCLA taking on Michigan, right? And like, these matchups, Ohio State playing USC, and like these things. And I do think that does change like the cool factor of who now is considered a cool brand within college basketball, because we are going to have some pivots and some shifts long term. And I think that brings us to our next thought about maybe looking ahead to 2024 and forecasting what maybe March and April look like. And we've talked about FAU maybe being one of these cool kid brands that we've seen. We've talked about their longevity. I think, do you feel like FAU is going to be this year's version of FAU in March Madness as well? I'll start there.
No, I think FAU is like too on the nose at this point. Like, that kind of flies in the face of what we would consider FAU of last year. Like, we knew they were good throughout the entire season, but nobody before the season was going to be like, oh yeah, FAU's a Final Four team. You're like, right? So it's like,
yeah. Have they moved into like,
kind of comes off the radar a little bit?
Have they moved into St. Mary's category where they're now that we just
no, I don't think so, because St. Mary's has been doing this for a decade or more than a decade, right? Like, they've been doing this forever. FAU is still kind of new to the table, but they're so good right now that like they're too on the nose to be like a sleeper Final Four contender. You know what I'm saying? It's like a weird limbo. But a team that I think is a little bit off the radar that could make a deep run and is not a mid-major, it's Clemson. They're playing really well right now. And they just have all those components. They have good scoring. They have toughness. They really defend. That's a team that I think could make a run. Like, I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket, but if they made a second weekend, I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you think they can win the ACC
tournament? Yeah, absolutely. I think they're easily one of the 4 best teams in the ACC.
Yeah, PJ Hall, a guy that we know and love, played on our platform, played the Upward Stars.
Ian Shefflin's been killing it for them.
Yeah.
RJ Godfrey's been really good. Just talking about some local Georgia guys that I've seen a lot. Chauncey Wiggins has done some really nice things. Like, that's a team that has a lot of pieces, a lot of experience too, because a lot of those guys have been in the Clemson system for a while. And that's a team that sneakily defends their home court really well. Not a lot of teams win there. And I only know this for being a plagued Louisville fan. Every time I'd be like, oh, we're going to go to Clemson, that's a win. And Louisville just lost every time. So that's a team that defends home court well. All they got to do is pick off a couple teams on the road, and I think they can win the ACC.
Yeah. We always talk about too, they produce a lot of pros, believe it or not. They produce
it's a sneaky program, like one every couple of years or something like that.
I got a sneaky program, and maybe it's not. I actually love the Southern Conference this year. I think the Southern Conference, I love the Southern Conference every year.
Yeah.
But I really like what Stanford's doing. I'm a big believer in buckyball. I think Bucky McMillan is a very, very hot coach behind the scenes as far as maybe moving up, leveling up jobs. They are 11-1, I think it was, prior to the Pittsburgh game, which I think is today. For Samford, they're balling out. I like High Point a lot. I think they are really good. But I do think when we look at Samford, they got our guy Achor that played for Stackhouse Elite with us on our platform, and now he's a senior, I believe, 50 or senior maybe. Big guy, just banging inside, a guy that we've known and seen quite a bit over at HoopSeen. But I really like Buckyball. I think High Point's a real problem. They've done a really good job of recruiting kind of out of the area a little bit. I've seen them a lot out here in the West, believe it or not, which isn't a big surprise. They do their homework, recruit the prep schools really, really well. And I'm going to give you one more deep cut to keep your eyes on. That if there's another FAU that's sitting out there, keep an eye on Purdue Fort Wayne out of the Horizon League. They're 11-1. Sorry, they're playing Pitt, not Samford. Purdue Fort Wayne's playing Pitt today. They're 11-1. They shoot the three ball really, really well. Their juniors and seniors is a nice blend of transfers and locals. Kind of the same dynamic that we saw at FAU. Coach has been there a long time. There's some connectivity. There's some familiarity. I like that program as well. Do you have any deep cut guys, any programs that you're kind of keeping your eyes on, or did I steal any of yours already?
No, you didn't steal any of mine. I don't know. Some of these aren't deep cuts, but Grand Canyon and Bryce Drew having a really great year. That's a team that could really give a lot of people problems. They just beat, or not just beat. They've already beaten San Diego State. Yeah. They've given a lot of teams some fits. They're a team that's upset potential. I don't know if they're multiple wins, but they are first weekend or first round upset.
I would not want to play them for sure. If I was any level, I would not want to play that team.
A member of the Drew family, like Bryce Drew, they can coach. So I think that's at least first round upset potential. Nico Medved in Colorado State, great again. You want to talk about a guy that's poised to level up soon? I think Nico Medved's like right there at the top with Dusty May and whoever else. Like he is one of the next coaches to get a whatever high major job opens up. Colorado State's great again. Isaiah Stevens, one of the best point guards, maybe the best point guard in the entire country. They've already knocked off a couple big teams. BYU is welcome to the Big 12 kind of contender because they have been, off to a really great start. They rank highly across the board on any kind of metric you look at. I don't know if this is a little bit of fool's gold or what, but it's just something to monitor. BYU, the Cougars could have a really good season over there in Utah. And then another team that's been really giving a lot of teams trouble, they took Kentucky to overtime at Rupp Arena, and they beat Villanova, St. Joe's over there up in the Northeast. That's one to keep an eye on too. They're really scrappy, so I think they're a team to, another upset potential in the first round. Maybe, after you win the first game, you never know how far you can go.
I like it. Some good candidates. I think this is a conversation that we kind of keep going moving forward. Let me ask you two local questions. Do you think Kennesaw State keeps it going? Do you think they're a contender in the A-Sun again this year?
Yeah, I think they are. I think that's a team that's going to keep it going in the future. Maybe it might take a year or two to adjust to a new coach and all that stuff, but they're off to a fine start. Like I think that they're going to perennially be a contender in the A-Sun. And I think they have I think what that program has done really well is just prioritized in-state guys and like really kept all the top in-state talent at that level home, kind of like the previous regime did. So I think they're just really setting themselves up for a really nice longevity run in the future.
Yeah, getting back into Alabama as well with Petway with his ties there. One more last local question there for the state of Georgia. Can Georgia Tech, can they get to the NCAA tournament?
I had to see more like that. Maybe like I don't see maybe. Yeah, that's just a big maybe.
Yeah, the ACC is interesting though. They're kind of in the middle of the pack. I think Georgia Tech.
I just don't know if the league is going to be good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't know. Like if you take if Georgia Tech loses to Louisville or something like that, that's a terrible loss.
That's it. Yeah, but if they beat Duke, even though we know Duke is maybe not the Duke that we thought they were going to be, I do think that changes perception.
For sure. Like they have good wins already, Duke, Mississippi State, but I think that there's just a lot of traps in the ACC, and that's why I say you have to see more. I think right now it's a little too early to tell in that league because it's not the Big 12 where you can lose a couple games in a row in the Big 12 and still be fine because every team is incredible. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, or it's not one of these teams that's like top heavy. Like you said, Duke's good. Clemson's good, North Carolina's good, Virginia's good, but none of those are like the top 10 teams in the country or anything like that. You know what
I'm saying? Let's think about this for a second. Kansas is going to be really interesting from February 3rd to March 9th. Listen to this schedule. February 3rd against Houston in Lawrence. February 5th, rivalry game at K-State. We know that game's always a good one to watch, real physical. February 10th, their host Baylor, a top 10 team. February 12th at Texas Tech. Lubbock, we know, is a tough place to play in the wintertime in the Big 12. February 17th at Oklahoma, a top 10 program. February 24th, a week later, they play Texas. They host Texas, top 20 team. The next game, February 27th, they host BYU, a top 20 team. Then they follow that up with a rivalry game with K-State, and they wrap things up on March 9th with a major game at Houston. That is an insane run down the stretch. And that's why I love what the Big 12 is. And again, those are pretty much traditional Big 12 teams, with the exception of BYU, Houston, whatever.
That's what I'm saying. You lose a couple of those games, it does not really hurt you at all.
Yeah. That's an insane run. I'm going to be watching a lot of those.
Yeah. I think is the Baylor game at home or away?
They host Baylor February 10th.
At Houston and at Kansas State are the two ones that I think they're probably going to lose, and I think they'll probably win the rest.
Yeah, Oklahoma is a tough one as well.
Yeah, I think so too. It's hard for me to not just trust Kansas to win. You know what I'm saying? Like
totally fair. Let's kind of do our little Wrapped, if you will. Spotify does that. We love it. Who was your top band, by the way? Do you do Spotify Wrapped, by the way?
Yeah, I think it was this band Milspec from Canada. I think they're probably number one.
Does anybody at our podcast watching community watch this band, listen to this band? Probably not.
No, hell no. I would genuinely, unless it's like somebody that's like clicking on my Instagram profile being like, oh, I wonder what Josh is up to today. You know, something like that. Yeah.
I love it. All right, Josh, when we wrap up 2023, who was your favorite player that you like to watch? It could be high school, it could be travel ball, it could be college ball. I won't throw NBA in there, but I'll throw those categories. Everything but the NBA, I suppose. I think I know who you're going to say. I think I know.
Well, if we're including high school and college and all that, it's got to be the guy that I saw win 3 out of 4 state championships in the last few years. It's got to be Isaiah Collier, right? Like
I think it's going to be. Yeah.
I spent a ton of time at Wheeler last winter watching him. I've prioritized a lot of his games that I can watch at USC. I don't know that anybody on earth has the Pac-12 network. Sometimes I don't know how to watch Pac-12 games. It's impossible. So all the games of Isaiah's that he's played, I tried to watch at least. So it's got to be Isaiah Collier in that regard.
I knew that was going to be your answer. It's hard to argue against that. Really excited to see if the year 2024 lends to be the number one pick year for Isaiah Collier. I feel like it's kind of trending in that direction right now, which I hope for his case is the case. Which
really that'd be great. I mean, I feel like at this point he's all but secured like top. I mean, he's secured lottery pick, right? Like,
I think the great question needs to happen down the road of who is the greatest player to ever come out of Wheeler. Is it Isaiah Collier, Jaylen Brown, or Sharif Abdurrahim? I think that is going to be that one needs a big panel of some real true long.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know that I'm tenured enough for that one. There's a lot of Georgia basketball luminaries who have seen a lot more than I have that could probably be best equipped to answer that. But I'll try. I'll do my best.
Yeah. If you're watching this, let me know. Drop a comment. If you're still watching it, by the way, an hour in, we appreciate you doing so. I'm going to go within the HoopSeen Association platform. I couldn't get enough of watching Javonte Ware. Ton of fun. Big physical. I thought he was the best player in independent basketball, best prospect, nationally ranked guy.
If we're going to go within HoopSeen, I got to go Nick Nier. I think Nick has a chance to be the best prospect because he looks like modern day basketball. You know what I'm saying? He does a lot well. I think if he continues in his development and continues to get eyeballs on him throughout the winter into the next travel season, I think he's going to be a guy that can really take off with the recruitment and all of that. He just does a lot well on the floor.
What was your favorite event of ours in 2023?
No, you go first because I have to think about that one because there's a few that like kind of stick out and I'm just trying to narrow it down to give you like a succinct answer as opposed to me being like, well, I like this one and this one and this one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. We had our home, we had a baby in February, so it limited me a little bit this year in travel, what I could get to, but I loved the Carolina Jam. And for a number of reasons, I don't know if it's because it was new. I don't know because it was something that Mike Eddy and I have been trying to get on our calendar for a very long time. COVID kind of wrecked it. We got to downtown Raleigh, played at the convention center there. We had so many good games. We had the big matchup to me was the loaded United game where Eli Ellis absolutely went bananas. I think he scored like 20-something straight points or something like that. And really absolutely put on a show. I thought about Eli Ellis maybe as my favorite guy to watch because I knew that I could count on him every time I watched him play. But an absolute showmaker, showstopper, playmaker. So much fun. And it was fun to be in Raleigh, somewhere new for us. I loved it. I think it'll go down as one of my favorite events that I've covered and that we've hosted in our HoopSeen history, to be honest with you. That's how much fun I had in 2023 at the Carolina Jam.
Well, I would probably could have said the same thing last year about Carolina Jam, just because it was right by one of my favorite coffee shops in the country. So that was elite.
That matters.
It does matter. I could walk there in between games and walk back and not miss any action. So I thought that was great. This year, Bama Jam was really fun. But I got to go with Best of the South. I think that's just kind of the biggest stage, and it was one that we just had so many of our, just so many teams under one roof that was just like, all right, I love watching this prospect, this prospect, this prospect. I can go ahead and see all of them at one fell swoop. You know what I'm saying?
I think this year we're going to have a lot more of that. I think the Best of the South, we're moving to Cobb Galleria Center, which is right with the Brave Stadium in Marietta, which I'm really excited about. We've got a couple new events this year in 24. We're going to be in Memphis. We're going to be in Knoxville, which I'm really excited about. We've got the Florida Jam, which is a live period event, the last live period of July for travel teams, which is going to be fun. The Tampa area. Best South is back. Gibbons is back. Atlanta Jam is back. Atlanta Jam is now our live period event, which is now in May, which I should have these dates memorized by now. Let me pull my calendar up. The live periods have changed for travel teams in 2024. Don't be alarmed. Jannard Hartnell and I did a great pod a couple weeks ago talking about
better
this.
For you.
I think it is better. It's so
better for you. I'm going to tell you why it's better for you. It's because college coaches aren't recruiting high school kids in April. They're recruiting their own rosters. They're recruiting the transfer portal. So when the transfer portal deadline ends, then college coaches can get out and prioritize high school kids. If you go out and there might be one or two assistants out on the road during April, or if there is a head coach, he's probably going to go to, I don't know, EYBL or something like that. So if you're an independent team, this pushing back to May or whatever is more beneficial to you and all your players.
I think it's better for every level of basketball, honestly. May 17th or the 19th is going to be the dates for that for the live period. There's only one in the spring, if you want to call it the spring. May 17th to the 19th for travel teams. The Atlanta Jam is going to be our stage for that there at the legendary Swine Sports Academy. Josh, let me leave you with this. 2024, what kind of hoop resolutions do you have? Have you thought about this at all?
No, I don't really think I have any basketball resolutions. I can't say, I want to watch more basketball because I watched a lot of basketball.
You watched a lot of ball. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, continue to have fun watching basketball. Have fun watching basketball.
That's fair. I want to this year in 24, now that I live out here in Arizona, I want to go watch a game on a Native American reservation up there in Northeast Arizona, something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Up to Chinle is my goal. And I really am excited to see our Tennessee events take off this year in 2024 for HoopSeen. I'm very excited about that. And quite frankly, I hope we have some sort of, I don't want to call it regulation, but I do hope that we can kind of find an order of things with NIL, with travel ball. I feel like we're getting really watered down now, and I hope that we can kind of tighten that up. And I hope as a collective community that we can all work together and get that done. So that is my goal. It might be a little romantic, but hopefully we can see that. So
Josh, I have a goal. My goal is just to not miss out on any events that I want to see. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally fair.
Like I went to the Champions Classic, we're not the Champions Classic, the Jimmy V Classic. So I was like, screw it. I just want to go see North Carolina play UConn. So that's what I'm going to start. I'm going to spend a lot of 24 and beyond doing that. Just if there's something I want to go to, I'm just going to go to it.
Drink the good wine, man. Don't let it sit in your cupboard. You got to drink the good wine. 2024. I'm all about that. So weird to think it's 2024. I feel like we're still talking about 2020. What a weird year it was, but here we are. 2024 is 10 days away from now, or 11 days, 12 days, whatever. That's what that right there is a sign that we got to end the show. Our brains are oatmeal. Josh, you got any left? You got any more ginger ale or tea left, or you drink it all?
I drank it all. I'm going to go lift weights, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to eat oatmeal.
There we go. All right, for Josh Check, I'm Justin Young. Thank you so much for watching the Christmas special here on HoopSeen.com, on the Fastbreak, on YouTube, on the X, and all the places. We appreciate you watching. our next show will be in 2024. We're not going to do a show for the rest of the year. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the time with your friends. Enjoy the time with your teams. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next year in 2024. Take care.